Ever notice how some companies just seem to get you? Like they're, I don't know, reading your mind about what you need?
Yeah. It feels like that sometimes, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
But it's not magic.
Right, it's market research, and that's our focus today, trying to understand how to tap into that knowledge.
Precisely. Knowing your market isn't just about getting a leg up.
Yeah.
It's really fundamental, making sound decisions.
Totally. Whether you're a business starting something new or honestly, even just someone trying to get their head around a new field.
For sure.
And to guide us, we're digging into this article, 10 Easy Steps to Start Your Market Research Project by Kalyani Raj from Cognitive Market Research. Think of it like a roadmap.
Yeah, practical guide.
Our mission here is to break down these steps, see how businesses use them, but also, and I think this is key, how you can use these ideas. Prepping for a meeting, understanding a topic, just being curious.
Exactly. And we're not going for information overload here.
No,
Yeah.
definitely not. Just focusing on the core stages.
What's really interesting is how these steps, even though they sound very business focused, are actually a pretty universal way to approach gathering information well.
Okay, let's get into it then. Step one, defining your research objectives. Sounds simple, but why is this the absolute first crucial step?
Well, it's the foundation, isn't it? It gives you direction, focus. Without clear objectives, you risk wasting a lot of time and effort.
Right.
Your objectives basically dictate the scope, what you need to focus on, and ultimately what kind of data you actually need to go find.
So, what are some typical objectives? What might a business be trying to figure out?
Oh, lots of things. Often it's about understanding customer needs, like what problems aren't being solved,
Okay.
or maybe looking for new market opportunities, a gap somewhere. Competitive intelligence is huge too.
Knowing what the other guys are up to.
Exactly. What are they doing well? Where are they maybe vulnerable? And of course, just improving what you already offer based on real feedback.
Makes sense. And what happens if you kind of skip this part, just dive into collecting stuff?
Chaos, basically. You can easily get overwhelmed with data that doesn't actually answer the right questions.
The questions you should have asked.
Yes. So you waste resources, misinterpret things.
Yeah.
It's like setting sail without knowing where you're going. You just drift.
Adrift in a sea of data. Nice analogy. And you mentioned objectives also influence the methods you choose. How does that work?
Absolutely. The question dictates the method. If you want to quantify something like what percentage of people prefer X, then, a survey, quantitative data makes sense.
Numbers.
Right. But if your objective is to understand why they prefer X, the deeper motivations,
Then you need something else.
yeah, that you'd lean towards, say, interviews or focus groups. Qualitative stuff. The objective points you to the right tool.
Got it. Okay, step two then. Identifying your target audience. We know what we want to learn. Now it's who we need to learn it from. Why is this so vital?
Because if you talk to the wrong people, your findings are, well, useless. Or worse, misleading.
Right. Garbage in, garbage out.
Pretty much. You need insights from the actual individuals whose opinions or behaviors matter for your research goals.
So how do you narrow that down? How do businesses define their audience?
The article mentions a few key ways. Demographics are the basics, right? Age, gender, income, location. The who.
Oh, okay, the surface level stuff.
Yeah, but then you've got psychographics. That goes deeper.
Mm.
Lifestyle, values, interests. The why behind their choices.
Oh, okay. More about mindset.
Exactly. And then behaviors, how they actually buy things, use products, are they loyal to brands?
So it's layering these things. Demographics, psychographics, behaviors.
Precisely. Understanding these layers helps ensure your findings are truly representative and actionable, aligned with who you're actually trying to reach.
And the payoff for a business that really gets this.
Oh, it's huge. You can tailor products better, make your marketing actually resonate, improve customer satisfaction. It feeds into everything.
Okay. Objectives clear, audience identified. Now, step three, choosing the research method. This is the how. How are we actually going to get this info?
Exactly. You know what you need and who from, so now it's about the how. And the article breaks it down into two main camps, quantitative and qualitative.
Let's unpack those a bit. Quantitative.
Quantitative is about numbers, measurement, statistical analysis. Think surveys, polls, anything where you get data you can count and, run stats on.
Good for finding patterns in large groups.
Yeah, exactly. Understanding prevalence, trends across a market.
And qualitative.
Qualitative is more about depth, understanding motivations, experiences. Think in-depth interviews, focus groups where you have open conversations, exploring the why.
Getting the stories behind the numbers.
That's a good way to put it. And the article suggests often the best approach is actually to combine them.
Why is that? Why use both?
because they complement each other so well. Quant gives you the what, the broad picture, the trends. Qual gives you the why, the context, the deeper understanding. Together, it's a much fuller picture.
Makes sense.
Huh.
Are there other things to think about when picking a method besides just quant versus qual?
Oh, definitely. Practical stuff, like what's your budget? How much time do you have?
Right, reality check.
Yeah. And how complex is the topic? Some questions just need more in-depth methods. The key is picking the method or mix of methods. That gets you relevant, trustworthy data within your constraints, always linking back to those objectives.
Okay, so now we're actually doing the research. Step 4, conducting primary research. What does primary mean here?
Primary means gathering new information firsthand. You're going out and collecting data directly from your target audience that didn't exist before you collected it.
So you're creating the data yourself, essentially.
Exactly. It's not using stuff that's already out there.
Yeah.
The big advantage is that you can tailor it precisely to answer your specific questions, and it's current.
What are the common ways to do this primary research?
Well, surveys are a big one, designed specifically for your project, interviews like we mentioned, focus groups, getting a small group together for a discussion, even observation, watching how people behave in a certain context.
And the main benefit of going this route, the customization.
Customization is huge. You control the questions, tailor them exactly to your objectives. You're not stuck with data that only partly fits. That can lead to really valuable, specific insights.
But as the article notes, it can take more time, cost more money. So when is it worth that extra effort?
It's most valuable when you need answers that just aren't available anywhere else, or when you need really up-to-the-minute information, maybe in a fast-changing market. The investment can pay off big time with those unique insights.
Okay, so that's creating new data. Step 5 flips it. Conducting secondary research, using what's already out there.
Right. Secondary research is about digging into existing data, information someone else already collected and published, tapping into that pool of existing knowledge.
And why is this useful? What are the pros?
Well, the big ones are usually cost and time. It's generally much cheaper and faster than primary research because the data is already compiled.
Makes sense. You're not starting from scratch.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's great for getting a broad overview, identifying trends, building that foundational knowledge before you maybe decide if you even need primary research. It provides context.
The article lists quite a few sources for this. Let's run through some key ones. Government publications. What's useful there?
Oh, things like census data, economic reports, really solid demographic info, economic trends for regions, often very reliable.
Okay. What about industry reports from consultancies or trade groups?
Those give you sector-specific deep dives, market size, growth forecasts, key players, challenges within that specific industry. Very valuable for understanding a particular landscape.
Academic journals. How do they fit in?
They offer more rigorous research findings, theories about consumer behavior, market dynamics, maybe a bit more theoretical, but grounded in evidence.
And company websites, annual reports, press releases. Sounds like competitor snooping.
Well, yeah, competitor intelligence is a big part of it. You learn about their strategies, finances, product launches, how they talk about themselves. Invaluable stuff.
Public databases too, like the World Bank or UN.
Yep, great for global data. Economic stats, social trends on an international scale, essential if your research scope is wider.
And finally, online articles, blogs, media, but with a warning.
Yeah, caution is needed there. These can be timely, capture buzz, but you really have to vet the source. Credibility varies wildly online.
Good point. Need to be
That's right.
critical. So secondary research is efficient, but you need to assess the quality. And the article stresses combining primary and secondary often gives the best results.
Absolutely. Secondary can set the stage, help you refine your primary research questions, fill gaps. Using both gives you that much richer, more holistic understanding.
Okay, data gathered, either we created it or we found it. Step 6, analyzing the collected data, turning raw info into something meaningful.
Exactly. Data itself doesn't tell you much. Analysis is where you process it, interpret it, find the patterns, the insights. And how you do it depends on whether it's quantitative or qualitative.
Right, so for quantitative data, like survey results, how's that analyzed?
Typically with statistical tools. You're looking for trends, correlations, patterns in the numbers, calculating averages, percentages, seeing if differences between groups are significant, maybe more complex modeling.
Making the numbers talk.
Pretty much. And for qualitative data, the interviews, focus group notes,
That's more interpretive, right? You're looking for themes, recurring ideas, feelings expressed. It often involves, reading through transcripts, coding concepts, seeing how ideas connect to build a story, finding the narrative in the words.
Yeah. And the article really hammers home that this analysis stage is critical for informing decisions,
Why so critical?
because this is where the insights come from. If your analysis is weak or you misinterpret things, the decisions you base on it could be way off. So using the right tools, being rigorous, it's crucial for making sound choices later.
Right. The analysis is the bridge from data to actual strategy, which leads us neatly to step 7, accessing the difference in the strategies used by the competitors, looking outwards again.
Yep. Understanding what your rivals are doing is vital. For differentiation, how can you stand out? And for benchmarking, how do you stack up?
What specific things should you look at when analyzing competitors?
The article mentions key areas. Pricing, are they low cost or premium? Product offerings, what features do they have? Marketing, how do they reach customers? What's their message? Customer service, how do they handle support?
So, a pretty comprehensive look. And the goal.
The goal is to find your edge. Understand their strengths, sure, but also their weaknesses. Where are the gaps you can exploit? How can you position yourself better? It helps avoid their mistakes too.
Okay, step 8 builds right on that. Discussing the strategies for your company based on all this data, taking everything learned and making a plan.
Exactly. This is where insights turn into action plans. You translate what you've learned about the market, the customer, the competition, into concrete strategies aligned with your company's goals.
Can you give an example? How might research directly lead to a new strategy?
Sure. Let's say your research clearly shows a big group of potential customers whose needs just aren't being met by anything currently on the market.
An unmet need.
Right. That insight could directly lead to a strategy to develop and launch a new product or service specifically for that group.
And what if your research shows a competitor is doing something really well? Do you just copy them?
Well, you have options.
Hmm.
You could adopt similar tactics if they seem effective, but you'd always need to adapt them to your own situation, your own resources. Or you might decide to deliberately go a different way, find a unique angle they aren't covering.
So it's about informed choices, not just imitation.
Absolutely. The key is that your strategy is guided by the research, tailored to your company's strengths, weaknesses, and position in the market. That's what increases the odds of success.
Which brings us to step 9, application of the research finding to the business. Time to put those strategies into action.
Yep, this is the execution phase. Taking the plans off the paper and making them real in your operations to drive growth or whatever the objective is. Making it happen.
And what might this look like in practice? What kind of actions?
Could be actually launching that new product we talked about. Or maybe tweaking your marketing campaigns based on what you learned about customer preferences. Changing your pricing. Improving customer service based on feedback. Lots of possibilities.
The article mentions alignment being crucial here. Alignment between what?
Between the research insights, the overall business goals, and what your customers actually need and want. When those three things line up, the implementation is much more likely to succeed.
And it's not just launch and pray, right? You need to track it.
Definitely not. Continuous monitoring is key. Are the changes having the impact you expected? You need to measure the results, see what's working, what's not, and be ready to adjust. It's about reducing guesswork and risk.
Okay, final step, step 10. Conducting periodic research to ensure customer satisfaction. This really drives home that it's not a one-and-done thing.
Exactly right. Market research has to be ongoing to stay competitive and keep customers happy. Markets change, preferences shift, new trends pop up constantly.
So it's about keeping your finger on the pulse.
Precisely. Regular research helps you spot new opportunities, see challenges coming, find areas for improvement. It also lets you track how well your past strategies are holding up. And that continuous customer feedback loop is just vital.
So in today's world, ongoing research isn't a luxury. It's pretty much essential for long-term survival and success.
Couldn't agree more. It's about that cycle of learning, adapting, and hopefully thriving.
Well, there we have it. 10 steps. It really demystifies how businesses get that understanding, doesn't it? It's not random guessing.
Not at all. It's a methodical process.
Yeah.
And the big takeaway, I think, is that this structured approach to gathering and using information is just incredibly powerful. For businesses, yes, but also beyond.
Absolutely. By understanding these steps, you, the learner, can be much more strategic about how you gather information for anything, really. Work projects, personal decisions, just figuring things out.
So here's a thought to leave you with. Thinking about these steps, objectives, audience, methods, analysis, application, where in your own life or work Could a little more, let's call it market research, maybe lead to a breakthrough or just a much better decision?
Definitely something to ponder. And hey, if you want to go deeper into this stuff, Cognitive Market Research, the source of the article, has more resources worth checking out.
Good call.
Until our next deep dive, keep asking questions.